Origins of the Old Testament, Proto-Masoretic, Septuagint, and differences in the Old Testament canon. The Old Testament is the main part of the Holy Scriptures that is the foundation of faith for Jews and Christians. However, its history is more complex than we imagine. There are several versions of the Old Testament text, such as the Proto-Masoretic, the Septuagint, and the Samaritan Bible. Even today, the Roman Catholic Church and Protestants have different lists of books. So how did the canonization process happen? And why are there differences in the canons between Christian churches? The history of the Old Testament begins with several primary textual sources. The Proto-Masoretic is the primary text in Hebrew that forms the basis of today's Hebrew and Protestant Bibles. The Septuagint is a 3rd century BC Greek translation used by diaspora Jews in the early Christian church. The Samaritan Bible is the version of the Torah used by the Samaritan community, with some differences from the Jewish text. The Deuterocanonical books are the books that are in the Septuagint, but not in the Proto-Masoretic. The Protestant Old Testament consists of 39 books, based on the Masoretic text. Meanwhile, the Roman Catholic Old Testament contains 46 books, with an additional 7 Deuterocanonical books taken from the Septuagint. These books are Tobit, Judith, Wisdom of Solomon, Sirach, Jesus ben Sirach, Baruch, 1 Maccabees, and 2 Maccabees, as well as the additions to Esther and Daniel. This difference arises because the Catholic Church recognizes the Septuagint as the authoritative source, while Protestants follow the shorter Hebrew canon. These Deuterocanonical books were recognized by the Catholic Church at the Council of Trent in 1546. The Roman Catholic Church accepts 7 Deuterocanonical books that are not in the Protestant Bible. Here are the books and who wrote them. Tobit. Written around the 3rd century BC, it contains the story of Tobit and the angel Raphael. The book tells the story of Tobit, a devout blind Jew, and his son Tobias, who travel accompanied by the angel Raphael, who disguises himself as a human. Judith, written around the 2nd century BC, it tells the story of the heroine Judith. It tells the story of Judith, a beautiful and brave Jewish widow, who saves her people from the threat of Holofernes, an Assyrian general. 1. Maccabees. Written in the 2nd century BC, it tells the story of the Maccabees' struggle against the Greeks. It tells the story of the rebellion of the Maccabee family, Matthias and his sons, especially Judas Maccabee, against the Greek invaders. 2 Maccabees. Written in the 2nd century BCE, it continues the story of the Maccabees with resurrection theology. It recounts the same events as 1 Maccabees, but with an emphasis on resurrection theology, rewards for martyrs, and prayers for the dead. The Wisdom of Solomon. Written around the 1st century BCE, attributed to King Solomon. This book combines Jewish thought with Greek philosophy, especially on the immortality of the soul and wisdom as a gift from God. Sirach, Ecclesiasticus. Written around the 2nd century BCE by Jesus ben Sirach. It is often called the Wisdom Book because of its emphasis on wisdom, fear of the Lord, and moral living. Baruch, attributed to Baruch, the scribe of the prophet Jeremiah. This book emphasizes the importance of repentance, hope for restoration, and faithfulness to God. The Protestant Reformation in the 16th century asserted that the Old Testament only included books recognized by the Jews, namely the 39 books of the Proto-Masoretic. Some of the main reasons for the Protestant rejection of the Deuterocanonical books include the following in general. Not recognized in the Jewish canon, the Council of Jamnia, 90 CE, designated 39 books as the Jewish canon. Not written in Hebrew. Some of the Deuterocanonical books were written in Greek, not Hebrew. Not quoted in the New Testament. Protestants hold that only books quoted by Jesus and the apostles are recognized. Some doctrines are incompatible, such as the prayer for the dead in 2 Maccabees, which is contrary to Protestant teaching. These canonical differences affect the faith and practice of the Church. We will discuss this further in Part 2 on the history and canonical differences of the Old Testament. Thank you and God bless.